If your doctor tells you that you have a high cholesterol, the natural reaction is to say, I better eat less cholesterol, right? But it's not quite that simple, because it turns out that there are 3 other factors that play a pretty significant role in addition to the amount of cholesterol you eat. And those 3 things are saturated fat, sugar and processed carbohydrates, and genetics. Okay, so let's start with genetics, because it turns out that 30% of the population is what we call a hyper responder to dietary cholesterol. Now, how do you know if you're a hyper responder? Well, you can ask your doctor to do a test, or you can do your own test. You can eat a low cholesterol diet for a couple of months, get a baseline, and then eat an egg or 2 a day for 3 or 4 weeks and get retested. And if your cholesterol doesn't move very much, then you don't need to worry as much. But now, if you have diabetes, or if you have heart disease, or are a hyperresponder, heart specialists recommend that you limit your eggs to 2 or 3 or 4 per week, depending on who you ask. Now, saturated fat, okay, you all know this. Saturated fat, which is the fat mostly found in animal products, raises cholesterol in the blood more than cholesterol itself. So in terms of eggs, it's kind of interesting, because eggs are low in saturated fat, even though they're high in cholesterol. Okay, I know it's complicated, but we do know that saturated fats are more problematic. So saturated fats are mostly in animal foods, and that's why dietitians recommend that you use olive oil instead of butter or coconut oil, or that you use avocado instead of cheese, or that you eat nuts instead of junk food, and that you eat more plant-based meals rather than all animal product meals. Not that you need to cut it out completely, but you just want to really focus on plants. Which brings us to the 3rd thing, which is sugar and processed carbs, because that's maybe a little bit more of a surprise. But when you eat that kind of a diet with a lot of refined carbohydrates, that can contribute to the problem as well. And part of the issue is that you're not getting fiber in those foods. So it's sort of like, you don't want to cut out eggs and eat cheeseburgers. It's like, if you cut out these saturated fats, what do you replace them with? High fiber foods. So in particular, the soluble fiber, which is carrots and oats and beans and lentils and that kind of thing. So listen, to simplify it all, let me show you what I had for dinner last night. I made this grain bowl that just puts it all together. I got some spinach. You can use arugula, chop up some romaine if you want. I happen to have some green beans, black beans and farro, which I always try to have some kind of a grain and a bean in my refrigerator, or canned beans, it's fine. Happen to have some cucumbers, bell pepper, and then I bought this sauce. It was called bitchin'. Sorry, but it's actually one that I make myself, and I have the recipe here. So it's just got a little chipotle chili and some avocado mayonnaise and a little lime juice, and I think a drizzle of honey. And I love my pickled onions, and I put that recipe in there too, so you can always put that on something. So it's kind of like a big salad, but it's got the grains and the beans, so that you get your protein and your fiber, and that is smart eating.